We recently took a look at the possibility of a new Russian assault on Kiev, and today we'll take a look at another possible Russian attack that's been highly speculated during this period when Russia has the strategic initiative. Shortly after the start of Russia's main assault on Ukraine, which started a year ago, February 24, 2022, there was much speculation about the location of potential additional Russian attacks. As we detailed at the time, Russia had opened at least 6 fronts, including the already active Donbass front. However, speculation ensued about additional advances, either in the northwest or the southwest. While neither was considered especially likely, especially after the Russian attacks elsewhere were quickly bogged down, the prospect of a southwest attack was considered the more likely of the two. That's because Russia already has troops on Ukraine's southwestern border, even though that border is not between Ukraine and the Russian Federation. Instead, it's recognized by the world's powers as being a Ukrainian border with Moldova. However, we can see that these borderlands are actually not controlled by Ukraine or Moldova. Instead, the area is under the control of the pro-Russian breakaway state, the Trans-dniester Moldavian Republic. Known as Transnistria or the Trans-Dniester in the west, referring to the far side of the Dniester River, and the Cis-Dniester or Pridnestrovye in Russia, meaning the near side of the Dniester. This wedge of land in between the Dniester River and the Ukrainian border has a long and complicated history, and it's long been our intention to do a full video on the history of the Tiraspol region. For now, we'll focus on how the current Russian-backed breakaway state, which dates from the dissolution of the Soviet Union, plays into the current conflict. The region is home to approximately 1,500 Russian troops on peacekeeping duties and contains large ammunition dumps dating from the Soviet era. Clearly, since the outbreak of open hostilities between Russia and Ukraine, Transnistria has been a knife pointed at Ukraine's back. Tiraspol has fit into the overall picture of the war in a number of different ways over the last year. At the very beginning of open hostilities, although Russia had not attacked on that front, it was considered the most likely new front for Russia to open. This was especially true after Belarusian leader Alexander Lukashenko did a press conference featuring a map showing vectors of Russian advance through the south, first to the Ukrainian port of Odessa and then on to Tiraspol. There were also several instances of reported explosions in Transnistria during this time, along with several other incidents in the following weeks, including attacks on Transnistria's Ministry of Security and its airport. The party responsible for these attacks is currently unknown, and still no one has claimed credit, though the goal has been widely identified as raising tensions, leading many analysts to suspect that this was Russian intelligence activity. However, with the difficulties it ran into elsewhere, the Russian army was unable to rope Transnistria into the initial phase of the war. But as the war's second chapter kicked off, Transnistria became a more concrete part of military planning. As Russia withdrew from the north, giving up on its initial attempts to take Kiev, attention shifted to the east and the south. Although the main portion of Russia's new attacks took place in the Donbass, as well as neighboring areas such as Izium, there was widespread speculation about a new Russian attempt to take Mykolaiv and Odessa, then link up with their peacekeepers in Tiraspol. These flames were fanned by Russian Major General Rustam Minakayev, commander of Russia's Central Military District, who spoke of what he called cases of oppression of the Russian-speaking citizens of Transnistria, presumably by the Moldovan authorities, even though the Transnistria breakaway state has never been controlled by independent Moldova. This, of course, fits right in line with Russian activities in the past, having used the same playbook in Ukraine, both in the Donbass and in Crimea, as well as in Russia's puppet states in Georgia. The general stated that Russia's intention was to capture the entire southern coast of Ukraine, eliminating the final port under Ukrainian control at Odessa and moving on to link up with Russia's Transnistria peacekeepers in Tiraspol. However, while Russia did achieve some gains in the east during this offensive, it lacked the strength to break out of its Kherson bridgehead on the west bank of the Dnieper and was unable to pursue an attack on nearby Mykolaiv, never mind Odessa or Tiraspol. Eventually, later in the autumn of 2022, Russia was forced to withdraw completely from its bridgehead on the west bank of the Dnieper, seemingly eliminating for the time being the possibility of any Russian attack to the west. However, as Russia has briefly regained the initiative in early 2023, 2023, alarm bells have been sounding over the possibility of a new Russian move on Moldova. Speculation has not centered this time around the possibility of military assault, but instead of a special operation, potentially involving seizing the airport in the Moldovan capital Chisinau and potentially sending in units or equipment based in Transnistria. The object of the exercise would presumably be the replacement of the current democratically elected government in Chisinau with some sort of Russian puppet regime. Unlike the possible new attack we discussed on Kiev, references to the possibility have been made by more than just Ukraine, Moldova, its sister state, NATO member Romania, and the rest of NATO, but indeed by the Russian side itself. On February 23rd of 2023, the Russian Defense Ministry accused Ukraine of plotting an invasion of Transnistria in an attempt to take out the Russian peacekeepers stationed there and in collaboration with the government of Moldova. They released a statement saying that Ukraine posed a direct threat to Russian peacekeepers and that, quote, the armed forces of the Russian Federation will adequately respond to the impending provocation of the Ukrainian side. This has been fiercely denied by the Ukrainian and Moldovan authorities, pointing out that this was in itself a provocation from Russia and a potential prelude to Russian intervention. The Moldovan authorities have once again warned of the possibility of a combined special operation and coup attempt, seizing the Chisinau airport, securing the country using units based in Transnistria, and ultimately deposing the government. Whatever happens, we'll continue to follow it as tensions continue to boil along this highly contested border. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Check out the project that forms the basis for these videos at apoliticalworldmap.org. And if you can, please donate on Patreon. Thanks again for watching. I'm Alex. I am out.